Spirit says do. 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 Flowing down, down, down to my soul. Come into the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Come into the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Come into the healing rivers, rivers of grace, flowing down, down, down to my soul. Love shines in the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Love shines in the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Love shines in the healing rivers, rivers of grace, flowing down, down, down to my soul. Forgiveness flows in these rivers, rivers of grace. Forgiveness flows in these rivers, rivers of grace. Forgiveness flows in these rivers, rivers of grace, flowing down, down, down to my soul. Come bathe in the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Come bathe in the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Come bathe in the healing rivers, rivers of grace, flowing down, down, down to my soul.
Okay. My mother's love has always been a sustaining force for our family, and one of my greatest joys is seeing her integrity, her compassion, her intelligence reflected in my daughters. With this quote from Michelle Obama, I welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. Happy Mother's Day. My name is Janet Evans, and I will be the worship leader for today's service. We welcome all at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. If you are a new visitor, please email our office manager, Amy Zinn, and let us know how you found us. You will find her email in the Zoom chat. Our church website has a great deal of information about the church and activities. Please mark your calendars for the May 20th Budget Forum and the May 23rd Congregational Meeting. Now, please ensure your microphones remain muted and join us for worship.
Good Morning, everybody. Really wonderful to see you all in this form, I guess. The best we can do right now still. Please join me as we begin our service together. As we prepare our hearts and minds for worship, hear these words of invocation from my colleague, Reverend Leslie Takahashi, who wrote, quote, "Here, in this place of peace, may we find hope. Here in this place of connection, may we find life-giving community. Here in this place of rest, let the unrest of our hearts turn us towards justice. Here in this space made sacred by memories of connection, let us each feel ourselves part of the new that grows from the old in the spiraling unity of years. Blessed be," unquote. And a blessed, beautiful Mother's Day to my mom, and to all of you mothers out there. Love to you all and welcome home.
Come, thou fount of every blessing, tune our hearts to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. While the hope of life's perfection fills our hearts with joy and love, teach us ever to be faithful. May we still thy goodness prove. Come, thou fount of every vision, lift our eyes to what may come. See the lion and the young lamb dwell together in thy home. Hear the cries of war fall silent, feel our love glow like the sun. When we all serve one another, then our heaven is begun. Come, thou fount of inspiration, turn our lives to higher ways. Lift our gloom and desperation, show the promise of this day. Help us bind ourselves in union, help our hands tell of our love. With thine aid, O fount of justice, earth be fair as heaven above.
If you have a personal chalice or candle near your computer, please get ready to light it. We invite you to type into the chat box where your chalice is lit, the street or neighborhood, or what city if you're joining us from outside Boulder County. Now it's my pleasure to invite the Churnsides to light this morning's chalice.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Karen Churnside. Our family started coming to UUCB when our children were 3 and 4 years old. The community has offered a place for our children to grow, explore, and be nurtured. And we're so proud of the adults that they've become.
Hi, I'm Allison. I grew up coming to UCB, and now the church is helping me be really intentional about teaching these guys the values that I care about. Eleanor, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Eleanor. Hi, I'm William.
We want to acknowledge that Mother's Day can be complicated and difficult for some people. And we wish to express gratitude for mothers of all types, for everyone who cares for one another and for each other. Close it.
Thank you for being my mom. Thank you for being my mom.
And thank you for being my mom.
And I want to thank my mom, Bertha, and Jim's mom, Mary, and all the generations of mothers who have faced their own challenges and were able to shine on. Thank you.
As we light our chalice, we also wish to thank our Mother Earth, which is the source of all life. Thank you.
We now invite all those gathered in your various locations to join together in fellowship and community as we all say aloud our congregation's covenant. We gather in fellowship to speak truth to each other, to reach out and touch one another, to care with each other, and to seek the true vine. So be it.
Following our blessings and concerns, we'll have a special meditation for mothers, so you can know that's coming too. But let's all just take a moment to get settled. I know maybe you were in a rush to get here, or you're getting ready to celebrate Mother's Day later and you got to-do lists in your head, but let's just put those aside for a couple minutes, maybe for a whole hour if we can. Wouldn't that be nice? Just take a little time to get connected to ourselves and to each other in this deep connection with all of life. Let us tune into our own joys and concerns. What is on your mind and in your heart today? In the quiet of your own thoughts, I invite you to lift up all that weighs on you: grief, worry, frustrations, pain, and anger. Whatever it is, let us hold it together in the miracle and magic of silence. It might seem impossibly big to you, but we're here with you to hold it, and together we can do that. So let us turn our minds and our hearts to those we love, holding them with love, acknowledging their painful challenges and sufferings. If your eyes are closed, I can just let you just breathe out for a moment. Just breathe that stress right out of your body. The universe can hold it. Breathe out those frustrations. Let them just flow right out of your nose and mouth into the universe. Another thing that helps is sharing what's on your mind with those who love you. So I want to invite you now to share your concerns in the chat box. I'll lift up some of them out loud. Others we will hold silently and tenderly on our hearts. I invite you now to remind us and share with us and unburden yourself. The border children, yes, they should never be very far from our hearts and minds. I hate that that's even a term, but may they know they are loved today and every day, and we all work for their freedom. For our frontline workers, our doctors and nurses, and everyone who's come together to give us shots, to make those shots possible. I have a lot of close friends and family in India, people I love deeply, who I know very well, and it's not a good time to be there. And my heart goes out to everyone around the world struggling with not enough vaccine and too much COVID. May their lungs breathe. May they know peace. For those anxious about the change in weather that has been promised by those evil meteorologists, I am with you in that. we will somehow get through this last snow. And for you looking for those last little chances to ski or snowboard, aren't you lucky? So we hold all that has been shared, all that is not ready to be shared, that is weighing us down, so that we may be lifted up. Please continue posting as long as you want. Ingrid, yes, Ingrid should be on our every thought and breath. Her whole family, we love you all so much. But I also want to turn our hearts and minds to that which we are grateful for, to that which brings us joy. So please share that with us too. I think Ingrid fits there too. She brings me so much joy with her patience, her trust in us. Celebrating member Rebecca, who completed the requirements to graduate this coming week with an associate's degree. That is exciting. We are all proud of you, Rebecca. Feeling all those moms with us who are either far away or no longer with us in body, but with us in spirit and love. I saw one I don't want to miss up here. Express appreciation for Deborah's song, for Deborah's music, for Amanda's music, for all the incredible music that I've been blessed to hear at this church. Thank you all who are making that possible. Family reunions are happening. We are hugging sometimes even at them. What a joy that is. I haven't hugged my mom for like a year and a half, and I love you, Mom, so much, and I can't wait to hug you in July. Another, yeah, Rebecca in there. Grateful for our sons and daughters. Pat, thank you for that reminder. Thankful for our caring president. It is nice not to worry what's happened on Twitter when you wake up every morning, isn't it? There's a lot to be grateful for. Sometimes it can be hard to remember. So that's why I love this ritual every week, to let your joys and celebrations just rain down upon us. Sprinkle us with that joy. For all these blessings and concerns, as well as those that are just too tender to be spoken or written or even thought about yet, we hold this compassionate space with love. And I thank you for all the ways we bless each other. Let's enjoy a little musical interlude for Amanda before we meditate on our amazing mothers. I invite you to make sure your body is comfortable and still. Your feet are comfortably tucked up underneath you or on the ground. Let us find a place of silence as we hear these words of Mother's Day meditation written by my colleague, Maureen Killeran. Let us tell the stories of mothers, stories that could be true. Let us tell of warm mothers, soft and round, likely to be found with flour on their nose, and always ready to pour you a glass of milk to go with the cookies on your plate. These mothers are increasingly rare. Let us tell of mothers who are like bubbles of champagne. They surprise your senses, leave you giggly, but when you least expect it, they erupt with an unexpected pop. Stories that could be true. Then there are grouchy mothers, stressed mothers, exhausted mothers, faces lined with worry and spirits tired and gray. Other mothers are wise and reliable, not prone to many words or to a lot of noise, but you know that when you need them, they'll be there. Let us tell of fierce mothers, the ones who will love you even when you're wrong. Let us tell also of absent mothers, whose memory shimmers at the edges of your heart. Yes, let us tell of distant mothers, cruel mothers, loving mothers, giving mothers. There are walk-away mothers, save the world mothers, too busy mothers. Mothers you cry because you lost them, and mothers who make you cry because you can't. Stories that could be true. May we hold in our hearts the mothers we have known, those who loved us and those who tried. May we forgive the mothers who didn't get it right and try to release the knots of disappointment, anger, grief, pain. May we hold in our hearts the truth that mothering, nurturing, is a task that belongs to all. However old or young you are, whatever your gender, may you make extra room for nurturing in your life this week. May you say something real to a harried store clerk. Give a coworker a genuine compliment. Take time to listen deeply to a friend. In our shared silence, may we remember and reflect and create anew the stories of love and nurture from this point forward, stories that can be true. May it be so.
There's a song that wants to sing itself through us. We just got to be available. Maybe the song that is to be sung through us is the most beautiful requiem for an irreplaceable planet. Or maybe it's a song of joyous rebirth as we create a new culture that doesn't destroy its world. But in any case, there's absolutely no excuse for our making our passionate love for our world dependent on what we think of its degree of health, whether we think it's going to go on forever. Those are just thoughts anyway. But this moment, you're alive. So you can just dial up the magic of that at any time. Thus ends our reading by Joanna Macy.
Flowing down, down, down
There is an ancient prophecy which comes from a religion in the Himalayas that predates the Hindu and Buddhist traditions that we associate with this region. This prophecy that some say is unfolding in our time is told in many forms through the splintered sects of Hinduism, Buddhism, and other regional folklore, but is kept alive most fervently by the Buddhist Kalachakra teachings. One of my favorite Buddhist scholars and environmental activists, Joanna Macy, came to know this story when she encountered it in the community of northern India that she served during her time in the Peace Corps in the 1960s. I was also vaguely aware of this story from encountering it somewhere in my travels, but it was hearing Joanna Macy tell it recently that stopped me and gave me shivers. And so I share a version with you now, heavily shaped by her telling. The prophecy begins in a very desperate time for humanity. A time so precarious that all of life on earth is in danger, hanging by a single thread. It is a time when a powerful few have taken control of a great deal of wealth, and with the power of that wealth have devoured the resources of the world in a battle against each other for total control. While these few elites battle against each other to destroy all but themselves, they have a great deal in common with each other, especially for their lust of ever more devious weapons of annihilation. A tragic time to be alive. When the values of the human race are flipped upside down, and the few divide us against ourselves at the cost of everything. But as the prophecy says, it is just at this moment, this precarious, hopeless seeming moment, when the kingdom of Shamballah emerges. Now, you may have heard of the kingdom of Shamballah. Despite the desperate searchings of many 18th and 19th century European explorers, it is not a place that you can go to like Times Square or Pearl Street. It is a place that exists only, as Joanna Macy says, in the hearts of the Shamballah warrior. Now, how do you know a Shamballah warrior? There is no official uniform or button they wear. They can be young, old and middle-aged, of black, dark brown, tan, or light skin. They have no gender requirements. But I think you may know who I'm talking about. And I think many of you consider yourself to be one. As the prophecy says, in this most tragic of times, when all hope seems lost, this is the precise time for the Shambhala warriors to be strong and have courage, for this is finally the time to act. And what the prophecy calls for is that the warriors must overwhelm the few with their numbers and dismantle their weapons. We must dismantle their bombs and missiles and guns and landmines, but also dismantle their poisonous stranglehold on our halls of power, on the structures and systems that prejudice one race against another, that predispose one class to think they are at war with another, that biases one religion to think another is their enemy. And besides their great numbers, the prophecy reveals that the Shambhala warrior will have another very important thing on their side. This is the insight that all of their problems are, in the Sanskrit term, manomaya, or mind made. That is to say, they will know that all of the weapons and the poisons and the problems of this sad and tragic time are made by the human mind, not some outside force that we have no power over, but through the way we think, through the way we treat each other, through the way we love and eat and travel. And if they were all made by the human mind, they can indeed all be unmade by the human mind. And that is the warrior's great advantage in this battle. Perhaps it would be comforting to think that all that is befalling us is due to some kind of terrible and cruel deity with power over us, or some other outside force that's not our fault, like fate or destiny. But the truth is, we made this. This world is a reflection of who we are, which means we can unmake it, all of it, if we can reflect something else with our actions. And so the Shambhala warrior must train hard, must practice diligently to hone their two greatest weapons in the struggle. The first weapon the Shambhala warrior has at their disposal is karuna, or compassion. And the second is prajna, the insight into the radical interdependence of all phenomena. Compassion and a deep knowledge that everything is connected. These will be the weapons that ultimately defeat this sad time. And you must have both of these weapons together in order to fight the good fight. A warrior will be completely imbalanced in their work if they have one, but lack the other. The Shambhala warrior needs compassion because it acts like the fuel to get us out of our own life and into worrying about others and the larger world around us. As I have heard Joanna Macy say, quote, "The heart that breaks open can contain the whole world," unquote. And what this compassion look like, or perhaps more aptly, what this compassion feels like, is a lack of fear for the suffering of the world. And that may surprise you to hear that one of the weapons we need for this struggle would be a lack of fear for the suffering of the world. But the truth is that when we are afraid, especially of suffering, especially of our own suffering, we are paralyzed. But when we are free from this, we are truly unstoppable because there is no lever left to turn against us. Our fear of suffering is what underlies all others. But compassion alone is too much. It's overwhelming. It makes us run hot and leads us to burn out of the energy we need for a sustained struggle, of which this will be. So this burning hot compassion of the heart must be balanced by something a little more heady, intellectual, and cool. So we need that other piece as well, that understanding or knowledge or insight into the absolute truth of the deeply interconnected, interwoven, and inescapably mutual network of all of life, of which we are all a part. All of it, in all of its messiness. Because what this insight keeps us grounded in is the difficult truth that this battle in which all of life hangs precariously in the balance is not actually a battle between the good people and the bad people, or the powerful and the weak, or the young and the old, or even of one political ideology over another. But that, as Joanna Macy says, quote, "The line between good and evil runs through the landscape of every human heart." We are so interwoven in the web of life that even the smallest act with clear intentions has repercussions through that web that we can barely see, unquote. The line of good and evil runs through every human heart. This is a personal battle. The prophecy concludes there. It doesn't tell us how things turn out, but I think I know. I think I know because it feels like I've heard this story before. We all have. This is actually a script that should be all too familiar to most of us because this is how it goes throughout human history. So we tell it again and again through ancient prophecy, but also through our more modern tales. Is this not the script of The Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and just about every giant world-shaking story that we love? That we must watch our heroes as they come as close to peril and destruction as possible before finally discovering their path to salvation? That's the thing about stories, especially story genres. They exist for a reason. They represent deeper truths about humans, ones we don't like to talk about or face much. Because I believe that this prophecy isn't unfolding right now, so much as it is always unfolding. There seems to be something about our very human nature that requires these self-inflicted wounds, these monomaya or mind-caused problems, to force us off of our proverbial couches and into action. Because it turns out we don't act when it's only kind of bad or even pretty bad. We wait until it's really truly bad. Truth be told, there have been a lot of very bad things going on for a very long time. All of the problems we face today have been in the world for generations. Many of our monomaya have been slowly cooking up for a very long time. It has been well over a century since we began our addictive and self-defeating relationship with oil. And it has been many decades since we realized that we were changing our climate for the worse because of it. We have yet to have a chime in our American history when people of non-European origin have been truly afforded the same rights and opportunities as those who pass as white. But now, perhaps it feels different. It feels like we have entered a new supercharged moment in history with viruses keeping us in our home, showing us how connected our American healthcare system is to those who have so little elsewhere. And perhaps that is just what we require as a species to get busy. As Rebecca Solnitz eloquently relates in her book, A Paradise Built in Hell, The Extraordinary Communities That Arise in Disaster, quote, "Few speak of paradise now, except as something remote enough to be impossible. The ideal societies we hear of are mostly far away or long ago or both, situated in some primordial society before the fall, or a spiritual kingdom in a remote Himalayan vastness. The implication is that we here and now are far from capable of living such ideals. But what if paradise flashed up among us from time to time, at the worst of times? What if we glimpsed it in the jaws of hell? These flashes give us, as the long ago and far away do not, a glimpse of who else we ourselves may be and what else our society could become. This is a paradise of rising to the occasion that points out by contrast how the rest of the time most of us fall down from the heights of possibility, down into diminished selves and dismal societies. Many now do not even hope for a better society, but they recognize it when they encounter it. And that discovery shines out even through the namelessness of their experience. Others recognize it, grasp it, and make something of it. And long-term social and political transformation, both good and bad, arise from the wreckage. The door to this era's potential paradise is in hell, unquote. It's quite a provocative statement that we only glimpse our best selves in our worst moments. But Nonetheless, I hear a lot of truth in Rebecca Solnit's writing, and certainly hear in her question, quote, "But what if paradise flashed up among us from time to time at the worst times? What if we glimpsed it in the jaws of hell?" Unquote. Personally, I don't believe that someone sitting on a mountaintop high above the Himalayas many thousands of years ago saw this moment in history through time and created this prophecy to speak to us now. But I do strongly believe that we hold on to and retell only a fraction of all the infinite stories that we have unfolded, and that we retell the ones we do for a reason, so that we may remind ourselves of truths that we would rather forget. As we all emerge over the next several months from our quarantine isolations, may we remember that now is the time to step into those new behaviors we have been dreaming about this past year. And may we also remember to bring along with us our red-hot compassion, balanced with a real understanding that the battle does not lie somewhere out there with a political foe or an angry uncle, but rather runs in a line straight through your own heart. May we have the courage to face this story and to show up as the warrior this moment needs us to be. May it be so. Ashe.
This month, we share our offering plate with Boulder Bridge House. Here's a story from them. Christina was a licensed cosmetologist, wife, mother, and restaurant manager. After spending much of her life in Colorado, she moved with her family to California. Then the problems started. She got divorced, had another daughter. Her stepfather, who was very dear to her, died, and she began drinking heavily. In addition, her boyfriend was diagnosed with kidney failure and had to go on dialysis. When her boyfriend died, her drug and alcohol use consumed her. During this period, she saw 5 friends die. She moved in with her mother, who was terminally ill. When her mother was evicted and ended up in a nursing home, Christina had to live in her car. Christina eventually lived on the street, and she was arrested several times. One day, a kind police officer put Christina in contact with her sister, who brought Christina back to Colorado to live with her. Unfortunately, the two had several violent fights, and Christina ended up in jail. On the street right outside of the jail, Christina asked a man if she could use his phone to make a call. He told her he was in a Bridge House program called Ready to Work. At Ready to Work, Christina found a safe place to live in a comfortable, wonderful atmosphere. She worked in Bridge House's community table kitchen, and she participated in support services, including addiction treatment, which helped her achieve sobriety for the first time in years. She graduated in July 2020, and she works for Arapahoe County. Ultimately, she wants to train to be a certified nurse assistant. None of this would have been possible without the hand up provided by Bridge House and Ready to Work. You can make a donation now using the link posted in our chat by sending a check to UUCB or scanning the QR code on the next slide with your mobile phone. Please be as generous as you can. We will now receive the offering. May our gifts be used to enact justice, bringing peace and love to the Boulder community. Thank you.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Hmm.
As we prepare our hearts and minds to return to the world, heap our love upon our mothers. Hear these words of benediction from Joanna Macy, who said, quote, "If the world is to be healed through human efforts, I am convinced it will be by ordinary people, people whose love for this life is even greater than their fear.
That's a very good
People who can open the web of life that called us into being," unquote. May we answer the call of the Shambhala warrior today, tomorrow, and always. May it be so. Ashe.
I'm aware that he doesn't have a shirt or
Go your way in peace, wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take, may love guide you on your way. Go your way in peace, wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take, may love guide you on your way.
We invite you to stay with us in our Zoom rooms for a time of online fellowship and discussion. And today, Treasurer Burton Lee will be in the main room to talk about our budget. Barb and Fred are here to tell us, how's this going to work?
I'm Barb Richards.
And I'm Fred Cole, and we were muted there for a moment. Well, it's, as you know, we can do